amazing. I'm actually just gonna check, just to double check. Hey everybody, what's happening? It's okay, yes, we are. Perfect.
I love the setting that you're in.
I'm in my parents' garden and it's just ah, it's like it's a whole other world in here. I'll give you the little
And
tour after, but it's I love coming home. It's great.
you know what? It actually
Um,
looks surreal, like you've got one of those backdrops
I
in the
know it
back.
actually is real, I promise.
Mm.
Andrew, I'm
Oh,
super pumped. Like everybody, welcome
mm.
to the age of connection, presenting beyond words.
I always love catching up with you, and it's nice that we can actually do so that people can witness our conversation for a change.
That's what we were
Mm.
saying, right? We were catching up a few
Mm.
days ago and we were, because I've got a new business and we're talking to retreat leaders and we've got an event
Mm.
coming up and I used to do lots of speaking stuff. And I don't actually know if you know this, Andrew, but I used to be petrified of public speaking. And I think,
Mhm.
I know that's not like you're not here to help people get over their fears of public speaking, but you are changing the game of what it means to be a world-class presenter.
Mm.
And when we were talking, just to lip you guys in and definitely engage with us, like let us know who's here. If you're catching the replay, give us a hashtag replay, but let this be interactive. Like, you know, after the pandemic, like we are craving connection. And of course, we are talking, I mean, as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as a human being, connecting with people is the most important, most enriching experience you can have. So maybe we start there. Like, what is this age of connection? Unless you actually want to, maybe I should invite you to just share a little about yourself. Like, who is Andrew Eggleton?
It's a very big question. Let's start off with this. I'll just frame
Okay.
up why I do what it is I do.
Yeah.
The essence of what I do has always been there for the last 28 years. So I started in 1994. I started early. It doesn't mean I'm that old. It just means I started early. Um, my I got into acting, and I rode my luck through that. But my passion was always in presenting. And what I discovered after a while of being a TV presenter and speaking on stage was there was a way that was always being taught. There was a way of speaking. There was a template to speak. There was a template to be on TV as an anchor. And it really evolved around projecting your idea of likable. So a presenter had to be chirpy, shoulders back, hey, and welcome to United Travel. And today we're in, and so it always felt like to me that something was missing. And I used to
Mm.
travel all over the world to be trained by what was considered the best speaking teachers and TV presenting teachers, and um, it was missing something for me. And
Mm.
I always wondered how many other people felt like that. And so the style of presenting that I wanted to experience didn't exist.
Mm.
And as I got better and better in TV and more comfortable and more technically sound, the more and directors would say, Andrew, just be you. And of
Mm.
course, what an incredibly crazy thing to say to someone in their 20s of just be you. And you go, well, what does that mean? Because you're asking me for a specific moment in time right now. You're asking me to between record and finish. You're asking me what part of me do you want in there?
Mm.
Considering I'm this infinite human being, well,
Mm.
this ball of energy, what part do you want? And on stage, it's the same thing as what goes into that part on stage. Because just be you, what part? So if I was choosing a part, that would mean that I'm not authentic, because if I was choosing a part, I'm going into performance to fit into that frame,
Yeah.
right? So I guess my life's work at the beginning of having that question and questioning what does just be you mean and what does authenticity truly mean was figuring out what is just be you. And
Mm.
what does authenticity look like? What does it feel like? And how do you then teach it to people so they can experience it? And once you've experienced it, I don't think you can ever go back. It just doesn't make sense because it's a different feeling. So what I figured out was what true authenticity meant on stage and camera.
Mm.
And that's been my driver. And through that authenticity, I've been able to discover what I believe is, I call it a heart brain consciousness. So, how to have this beautiful tandem of using our brains, which is what I already know. This is the
Mhm.
stored information. This is what I already know. These are the points that I need to hit today. This is the fact that I have 45 minutes in my keynote. Um, this is my audience. And here is, this is what I don't know yet. So what
Mm.
is going to work through me today that is real and true and is, which is just as much as a surprise to me as it is to the audience. It'll be on point, but how I articulate it and the words, the state that I'm in, who I am right now is going to influence the words that I use to articulate my topic. Right? And that's not how people work when they're going into complete memorizing their piece, which is a lot of speakers, right?
Mhm.
So that was my unearthing, and then it's funny. I'm at this point now of what I talk about, the age of connection. We're going from the age of information into the age of connection.
Yeah.
The age of information is very level one.
Mhm.
Level one, get on stage or on camera, share information. Now, of course, we're in the saturated level of information now,
Yeah.
and we can get information anywhere. YouTube and emails and Google it, and someone will be giving you that information. So why does someone want to come out, get out of their house now and get in a car or public transport or fly to a different country or different state or city and come and see you live? And the
Mm.
reality is this connection.
Yeah.
So we're moving from this age of information, and information alone is not enough. I think most people at this heart level or a bone deep level, maybe they try to ignore it, um, but it's not enough anymore. We want to connect with the speaker, and we want to feel safe and connected and seen and heard in a room. So we're moving into this age of connection, and we can't connect if we're not authentic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're performing to the audience.
Yeah.
You can dazzle them, you can inspire them, but they're not going to connect to you at a level that becomes more of a spiritual experience on stage. And so I'm the people I work with are the ones that are asking that question. There must be more. There must be another way to experience or to have a different experience on stage. There must be a way for my audience to uh, be enriched by what I'm saying and doing on stage, more than just taking away pieces of information. So the brain is more enriched by experiences than it
Mhm.
is by information, by knowledge.
I love that you made, I love that I love that you talked about the age of information, and that, because I remember going into entrepreneurship, and that was like, it's the age of it's the age of information. You can share
Yeah.
your unique brilliance with everybody. And you know, I definitely was taught a not a formula. I don't want to take the fun out of it, but it is so, it is like your state of being is everything when you are being authentic. And this word authentic gets thrown out. I mean, you must see it everywhere. I mean, we see it
I,
everywhere.
I've never met a speaking coach that understands what authenticity truly means. And I know that's a
Yeah.
bit of a bold statement and reckless, perhaps, but I have paid enough to know that when people are teaching me authenticity, they're teaching me the idea of authenticity
Mm.
and what, and that authenticity means to share, to be honest, and that's not authentic. That's a parody. That's a projection of what authenticity is. You're projecting authentic. I'm projecting sincere. I'm projecting being honest. I'm projecting likable. I want you to likable, so I'm going to project likable. None of those things are authentic. If you are a likable person, you don't need to try and be liked. If you're funny, you don't need to try and be funny. If you're wise, you don't need to try and project wisdom. You are already those things.
Wow. That was very, very powerful because as a former people pleaser, you like it took me a long time to get into okay, this is me and my authenticity. This is who I stand
Mm.
for. Um and it had to do with, you know, looking a lot of personal development work. Sorry if you guys can hear that blower thing. But anyway, so and I think this is the moment for me where I was like where I let myself not memorize. I actually let myself feel through the presentation, and it was an entirely different experience for me and for the audience. I'm just bringing my personal insights into it, but um when because we hear this all the time, you know, like and people buy from people, you know, be authentic,
Mm.
be true, and then you know you hear and then you see people in like you said, like it's not people try to perform, people try to be who people want to hear or
Yep.
but when
Project.
they project, yeah, when you were talking about projecting, so when you say what and how like what is authenticity in your mind and how do you bring it into how do you speak authentically, so like
Okay.
how do you do it and how do you speak authentically?
Okay. I'm just going to frame that. How do you speak authentically? I'll come to that.
Okay.
I think the first part is we have to remember that we've all been sold a story of how this is meant to go. We've been sold a story. We've been sold a story of where to stand and how to get everybody on side when you go on stage. I mean, most people will tell me, "Oh, yeah, but when you smile, we're walking on stage. It's proven that people warm to a smile and feel." And but if I don't feel like smiling, there is no way I'm going to walk on stage smiling. And you won't see me do it. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, I'm already setting the tone for myself of I need these people to like me, but I know that I'm a good person and that I'm likable. So I don't need to do anything to go further to make them like me. And if they see me, and the reason I attract my kind of people is because I allow them to see me. So when you're getting the wrong kind of audience, it's, they don't know who you are. So how can your audience be real if you've never shown them who you are? So when we get to, let's look at how we achieve authenticity. And I just have a real simple tool. I guess step one of a method, and this isn't just a method because a coach told me to come up with a method. I sat on this for years and worked on it on an island in Bali. I lived in Bali for a few years, and I just worked on. It's one thing for me to understand how to just be you and what is authenticity, but then how do I teach it? And so the first principle that I use before I go on stage or camera is I tell myself no change of state. And everyone goes, yeah, but what about Tony Robbins? And I go, Tony Robbins is Tony Robbins. He does it his way. I'm authenticity. His thing is all about changing state, but that's not authentic speaking,
Mm.
right? So the trouble with that, we don't get to choose often how we've woken up in the morning. And sometimes if you've got a big speaking event and you go, oh my God, of all the states that I wanted to be in, this wasn't the one. Or we have this idea of what we're like, what we want ourselves to look like on stage, you know, hyperactive and charming and witty, and everyone's like, oh my God, um, Natalia's amazing. We need to go see it. And then the next day you're like, damn it, I'm not in that mood again.
Mm.
Right? And so people try to replicate that. over and over and over again, which then becomes a parody of Natalia in this one state,
Mm.
right? And then it's also performance. So no change of state is being able to go, how am I feeling right now? Okay, today I'm a little bit jet lagged. I'm tired. I feel good, but it's affecting me, and um, I'm a little bit slower. Maybe not as funny as I'd normally like to be, but this is the state that I'm in. And then I go, this is perfect. This is me right now. This is authenticity. So I don't judge that state to be wrong or right or good or bad or positive or negative to my presenting, because that's what just for you is.
Mm.
So my state doesn't affect my ability to pass on my wisdom.
Mm.
My wisdom's still there. I didn't wake up dumb. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't wake up with amnesia. I just woke up in a different state, and it's most likely a different state than the one I would love to be in, which was just boom, Andrew with X Factor today, which which is rare.
Mm.
I'm just a human. You know, we're all the same. It's like I don't choose. I don't choose what time my brain decided to turn off last night. I don't. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It's
I mean,
so I own my state, and then I remember my state's neither good or bad or positive or negative or wrong or right to my presenting today, and so I will walk from side of stage to on stage as is, and then I normally start with an just to show that there's no fucking rules, and
I
it'll be the best they've heard.
love that.
The will make me feel like, yeah, you see, I'm a badass speaker. I'm allowed to say and but that level of authenticity has already got me a level of connection. And then
Mm.
there's the next part is the trouble with speakers is they speak too much. And after 28 years, it feels so surreal to be focusing on the space between the words as much as the words themselves. So
Mm.
I work a lot with speakers on something I call suspended presence. And
Mm.
it's when we don't get to the end of a sentence and we suspend the presence of our audience in that moment. And in that moment, they actually feel more than what they did when you were speaking because they're allowed to have their experience. But when you have suspended presence, it means my intention in that silence is very clear. I'm holding you.
Mhm.
I'm holding you in that silence. And the audience can feel it so they feel safe. And when you aren't able to suspend that presence, when it's then, and I see this with people that I work with, when we start working, is the noise in that silence is deafening. They freak out. They go into a little boy or girl mode, and everyone feels insecure. The audience feels insecure for them, and it's like, oh my god, just speak, put me out of my misery. And the more comfortable you get in there, and the more intentional. Yes, that's right. We're sitting in a silence deliberately. It's nice, isn't it? And the audience feels safe. And there's this beautiful. Then it's like the room starts getting smaller, and people are getting more connected and more connected. And the more that you're able to do that, you end up in this beautiful little invisible dance, like a maestro, like a conductor in this instrumental ensemble. It's like everyone's. It's like I love this expression of just. It's like a piece of string is attached to the hearts and minds of the audience, and you're able just to
Mm.
pull. It's a deeper experience. You're connected, and you can't get that if you are performing, because
Mm.
your energy is evasive, and evasive energy is very hard to connect with. It's like I'm going to use maybe a bizarre example here. Well, but let's roll. Is It's like a lover.
Mm.
It's like a lover, and if your lover is if their energy is evasive, it's not the greatest experience. You're like, one of us is not here. One of us is
Yeah.
not here. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
But when you're there to be connected with,
mm.
as an audience, as a lover, as a friend, or whatever, that it becomes special.
Setting when you were talking about, you're like the conductor of an orchestra, and you've got these strings, and it was just this beautiful harmony and
Mm,
this connection that I went to, listening to a symphony, listening to an orchestra, and when you picture in your mind the conductor, and he's got everything timed right, and he knows the crescendos, and he knows
mm,
and you can feel his energy, like when it's time for the whole audience to lift, and then when you get really soft,
mm.
and then that was awesome. I think because I I used to hate getting told, don't say you say too much.
I was laughing about this with a mutual friend of ours, Anne, the other
Mm.
day. Of the speakers will often say to me, "I need to get rid of ums," and then I go see them speak, and I pull them aside, or just laugh to myself. It's like is the least of your worries. Like it's not the thing that you need to be concerned about right now. Our internet's just a little bit jittery for a sec. Um, if you're concerned about your arms, but you don't know how to use your voice, and you
Mm.
don't know how to connect with your audience, and you don't understand authenticity, then you focusing on as the thing that you need to fix is you're in the wrong space. You're asking the wrong question.
Mm.
I use a lot, but I make them sound good.
Mm.
I enjoy, even when I say I actually enjoy that. I enjoy how it makes me feel. I like the resonance of it. Um, it's the connection, that level of authenticity, that playfulness, that essence of you that is able to be seen. That's what your audience are there for. They're not sitting there with a little pen and paper and counting, ticking ums and doing little crosses every time you do an They're there
So true.
to be connected with and to be shifted, and their hearts and minds shifted. They want to leave with your experience inside their body. It needs to be a visceral experience. So I always ask myself, as a speaker, is like, what is the experience I want to have with my audience?
Mm.
What's the experience I want to have with them? Um, and I also think, which is the reverse of the story that we've been sold, is when people say it's all about your audience, and I disagree. It's all about the speaker. It's all about me when I'm on stage. I know that sounds very me orientated, but it comes down to my question first. How do I want to
Mm.
experience this today? What's the experience I want to have? And now how do I create that? And how do I want the information or the words, or how do I want my information to be received today? So
Mm.
how do I explore with the way I make sounds, and my presence and that level of connection today? Not just like, if I did I get everything out? Did I say everything in sequential order? Did I hit all my points? I mean, that stuff's secondary. That stuff's all level one. We're talking about it at this higher level of level one is like a sharing story, sharing a personal experience, and everyone believes that they've got a personal experience that's worth sharing, and the reality of that is probably not true. We all have
Mm.
our own unique experiences, and a lot of people don't like hearing that because they get excited. It's like and of course we've been sold this idea that, what's your story? What's your story? What's your story? But the reality is, most of us don't have a story that is worth flying to another country for, or to another state, or getting out of your home to go see, especially if you're delivering it at level one too. Right? Level two is, I actually am an expert in what I do. I've got a lot of experience. I know the data. I know the facts. I know the tools. I can pass on this information to you. We're getting into information zone. right? By the way, just to make sure that some people are clear, they're level one. Some people, if you, this is an extreme example, but if you've got no legs and you climb Mount Everest, that's probably a story worth telling.
Mhm.
Number two is I'm the expert and I'm passing on things that are tools and experience that will speed your process up or that you desire right now. Level three is craft. I choose
Mm.
how you receive the information I'm giving you today. I choose the experience. I choose the pacing. I choose how you feel because I have the craft to be able to do that. And then I think where I sit and where I'm really focused on and dead set and making this happen, and I am, is redefining what world class looks like. That we can have a spiritual experience on stage because we're so deeply connected with our audience and we're working through that heart-brain consciousness that while we are connected, they can feel the frequency of those words that are coming from a different place. So effectively, when you get to that point, you're able to raise the frequency one room at a time.
Even from like grade school, how you're taught to put your presentation together, and it's supposed to have X amount of points and you have to memorize it, and and it creates a very nervous state of being.
Do you know when you mentioned nerves, and this is what it's not just another story that we've been told, is don't let the audience know that you're nervous, but which just seems ridiculous because after 28 years, I still get nervous. And so I tell my audience often, but I'll frame it up and go, after 28 years of speaking, I still get nervous. How fucking cool is that? And then all of a sudden the nerves are gone
So
because I've owned
cool.
them. And now I don't have to pretend that I'm not nervous. The nervous comes into being able to um, be in my zone. I'm able to be me. Like,
Yeah.
this is me. I'm going to share my information. I'm a little bit nervous at the start.
And I know that you have a couple of events coming up. So I might take this opportunity to just ask you, for anyone listening who is just as captivated as I am, how can we get more of Andrew?
The presenters experience in Austin, Texas, which is 25th, 26th. And the first day we're actually traveling out to a ranch and we're using horses, equine assisted training to discover a level of authenticity that speakers don't really understand. And the horses are able to reflect back to you exactly how you're being. So you can't lie. So I'm really good at picking up when a speaker is authentic and when they're pushing it or when they're projecting. But a horse does it at a whole different level than what I'm capable of doing it. So I use horses now in my training, which is, I think, is pretty cool. It's groundbreaking, it's edgy, but um, yeah. Then on day two, we begin the day with those learnings and we begin the day, the foundation is authenticity. The foundation is authenticity, not our end goal. That's where we start. And in London, it's the 22nd and 23rd, I believe. 22nd, 23rd of July. And a little bit different. We're not using equine assisted training, but we are bringing in somebody who's going to help break down what it is that I do so people can model the difference that makes a difference. So why am I doing what I do? Where would I use it? What am I doing? Why? Where to use it? And so they're able to use it when they want to, wherever they want to. Um, and I've got two tiers of people who can come in and participate and watch, but also more people who can pay a little bit more and be the people that I work with over those 2 days. So I'll be using them primarily as for the audience to be able to model off as they learn the tools, and I'm giving them the tools and the drills and the techniques and this and things that they've probably never experienced before when it comes to presenting. The audience will be able to model off them. So this is really going beyond the words. A lot of the training will be going beyond the words. Is that suspended presence and yeah, just what is the experience that you want to have with your audience when you're speaking? Yeah. There's nothing,
I
and
love
Natalia,
that.
there's nothing out there. I know there's nothing out there like this. I've been here for 28 years. And it's just at a point of really coming into my own in this space because there's this bone deep sense of confidence now of knowing after 28 years I'm becoming masterful in what it is that I do, and I'm allowed to say that because I you reach mastery when you reach a point of knowing that you know nothing. And that was only after 28, 25 or 26 years that I had that experience where I woke up and went, oh my God, is this what mastery feels like when you realize that this is forever learning, that you never reach the point? It just keeps going. And how far and deep can I take this? And then getting to a point of, do you know what? Let's redefine how this looks because people are just sharing information. And so people were coming to me and going, worried about just the information part of stuff. And I was going, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on how you deliver it in a way that your audience are connected to you and they can see you and feel you and they leave having an experience that's now in their body. Just like trauma stays in your body from an experience, so does the good stuff. The brain's enriched by knowledge and experiences more than it is knowledge. Those experiences create an emotion. The emotion is stored in the body. That's how people remember you.
Wow. That was magic right there.
Mm.
Like you drew the connection between the emotion, the experience, how it gets stored into your body. And that's how you can, one of the ways you can be remembered. This is amazing. Thank you so much for this. This has been phenomenal.
That's it. Is how do you, when you're authentic and you have this level of craft, it becomes effortless. Like you effortlessly become the most memorable speaker over, let's say, a retreat or a 2-day event or of a symposium or whatever it is. What it is, if you've got a multiple speakers, it's like, well, how do I stand out? And when you're being authentic, you literally stand out by doing less than everybody else, which is the cool part. You're able to stand out by not even speaking. Is that how do people feel in the space between the words? Because that can be as potent as the words themselves. Allowing your words to breathe, allowing just enjoying the sound of the words leaving your lips. And when it passes through or when it comes from that heart brain, it means it's got a different frequency to it as well. It's like that. It's like the frequency of your greatness or the essence of you is attached to those words. And your audience remember those. The audience will remember those words. No matter if I do an hour and a half talk, and I know when the words have come from that heart-brain consciousness compared to, and remember that heart-brain consciousness is, I think, like 6,000 times more potent than the brain. You know what I mean? So most
Wow.
speakers are trying to connect with the brain using stories as a tool to connect. I don't tell stories on stage unless I'm
Interesting.
making someone laugh. But I have no desire to get up on stage and try to tell a story. For me, that's a waste of my time. Because the end goal of a story, anyway, is to be remembered or to resonate and connect. And there's just more powerful tools than storytelling. And I know that upsets a lot of people because they paid a lot of money to have their story extracted from themselves. But there is another way. And it's more fun because you're more deeply connected. I couldn't think of anything worse than being a speaker who has to tell their same story at the beginning of their keynote every single time. I honestly, that feels like pain to me. That feels like a job. It feels really not aligned and something I would bore off really, really quickly.